The masjids and basically the masjid that is considered a bona fide masjid in Islam, because the masjid in Islam is not just any other place. The masjid in Islam is not just any other building. The masjid has many rulings. The Prophet ﷺ said the best lands in the sight of Allah are the masajid. And we all know the virtue of the masajid, the virtue of building the masjids, the virtue of frequenting or visiting the masjids, the virtue of maintaining those masajid, and whether it is physical maintenance or maintaining them in the sense of establishing of worship in the masajid, making salah, dhikr, the remembrance of Allah, the recitation of the Quran, studying, teaching, and so on and so forth. But the masajid have certain rulings that apply to them. So there are many rulings that apply only inside the masjid. There are certain things that could be done only in the masjid, and there are certain things that must not be done in the masjid. There are certain things that are preferable in the masjid and certain things that are disliked. So there are specific rulings for the masajid, but in order for us to basically to know when those rulings are applicable and when they are not applicable, we need to be aware of the distinction between that which could be called the masjid and that which may not be called a masjid. For instance, there are masjids, particularly in Muslim countries, you'll have masjids all over the place. You have masjids in the clubs, in the hospitals, in the universities. These are basically prayer rooms that are designated for the prayers. Would they count as masajid? Also, when we rent some room or some space in a building, for our prayers, would this count as a masjid? In this case, all of the rulings that would apply to the masjid would apply to this room or apply to this designated space that we have basically rented. It's not true. Not everything that we call a masjid is a masjid. Not every prayer room is a masjid. There is a little bit of disagreement between the scholars whether a place that is a rental place that is not a permanent waqf, basically a temporary waqf, could be designated as a masjid. So you have a temporary waqf. Waqf is an endowment. Waqf is basically when you designate a place as or you give up the ownership of a particular place and make it all for Allah, dedicated to Allah. So no one will be an owner of that place except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah is the owner of the whole universe. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made us viceroys. Allah made us agents. So we do have some form of ownership. But when you give up that ownership, that form of ownership, that form of basically power of attorney or agency, then the property goes back to the ownership of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala without any agency, without any power of attorney. So basically the masajid, our masajid as Muslims, they are Allah's, they are Buyutullah, they are the houses of Allah, and there is no agent. Yes, there are maintainers that will sustain the masjid, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not give power of attorney to someone over that space, which is the masjid. In this case, the ownership of the masajid belongs only to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, could a temporary place be designated a masjid? According to the correct position or the official position in the Maliki school of fiqh, yes, a temporary place could be a designated masjid. The other three madhabs and the majority of the Muslim scholars, so namely Hanafi, Shafi'i, and Hanbali, And the majority of the Muslim scholars said no, the masjid cannot be a temporary waqf, cannot be a temporary waqf. It has to be a permanent waqf, meaning the ownership has to be. I have a call here, so I'll take this call. Hello, Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Sheikh.
Well, yes, Akhi. Welcome to Just Ask Islam. Do you have any questions?
Yes, we have got a question, and the question is, what can I do to make my iman stronger if I'm having doubts?
Okay. That's your only question?
Yes, Jazakallah khair.
Well, you'll hear the answer, inshallah.
Inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum. Wa alaikum assalam. Okay, so we will get to this question. Well, I'll just finish the first question that I received from before. So the masjid, could it be a temporary place? We said according to the majority, that's the Hanafi, Shafi'i, Hanbali school, and the majority of Muslim scholars, the masjid has to be a permanent waqf, meaning it could not be a rental place. However, when we rent a place and use it as a masjid, particularly in the West, let's say we rented a place and we're using it as a masjid, do the rulings of the masjid apply to this place? Technically, no, they don't apply to this place. Technically, they don't apply to this place. But we may require of the Muslims to abide by the etiquettes of the masajid in general, because, think about it. Sometimes we do this for 15, 20 years. So some generations may grow up not knowing the etiquettes of the masajid, because the masjid of their neighborhood is a rental place. So they may grow up not knowing the etiquettes of the masajid. If we don't demand of ourselves, if we don't expect of ourselves to abide by the etiquettes of the masajid in those places, even though technically, according to the majority and the stronger position, they would not be considered masajid. I hope I am clear on this point. The masjid has to be a permanent place according to the position of the majority. This is the stronger position. It has to be permanently Allah's, meaning it cannot be a rental place, but for the purpose of educating our youth and our youngsters in the proper etiquettes of the masajid, whenever we have a rental place. Now, we're not talking about a small place that we have in, like a prayer room that we may have in a club or hospital or university and so on. These would not be masajid. You don't need to abide. But if the masjid of the neighborhood, where the youngsters go and they consider this to be their masjid, is a rental place, then we would demand of ourselves and expect of ourselves that we abide by the etiquettes of the masajid, so people would not really grow up not knowing how to behave properly in a masjid.